Hello, everybody. Welcome into the class. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to, well, first let me introduce some of my cohorts there. I have Joy and Lindsay from Cricut joining us today. They will be monitoring the Q&A and answering a lot of your questions, and some they may shoot over to me, but a lot of times they are, you know, they're quick with their fingers, so they're quick to answer your questions right in the Q&A. We are going to do an overview and orientation to Design Space, which is the software that works with your Cricut Smart Cutting Machine. What we'll do is start off with some slides and then go into Design Space Live. So if you'd like to follow along with me, please go ahead and open up Design Space on the back end to make sure that it's up to date and you're ready to work with me when we get to that stage. Otherwise, all you need to do is sit back and listen, learn, take some notes as you go along, and then at the end of the class, I'll show you how to assemble your project. So without further ado, let me go ahead and jump right into the slides. Always takes me just a minute to pull everything up. Here we go, from the beginning. All right, so meet the family. Cricut offers 3 different families of machines. We have the Cricut Joy over here, which has the smallest footprint and cuts 4.5 inches wide. It is the Cricut Joy is less than 4 pounds, and it was the first machine to use our smart materials. Smart materials are vinyl and iron-on vinyl that doesn't require a mat to go through the machine. So it makes your cutting time, it shortens your cutting time and the speed that the machines can cut with. The next family lineup is the family of the Explore Air machines. These are probably our most popular machines. They cut over 100 different materials at a width of 11.5 inches. The Cricut Explore Air the Cricut Explore Air 2 and above are all Bluetooth, so you don't have to have it hardwired into your computer. It's a great machine. It really is a powerhouse machine for all of your crafting needs. If you find yourself to be a pro crafter or a professional maker, you may be enjoying the Cricut Maker, which offers our gear wheelhouse, saying that wrong, offers the quick swap gears of blades and tools to swap in and out. The Cricut Maker cuts over 300 different types of materials. So welcome in, whichever machine you're using, you're part of the Cricut family. Now, all of our machines work using our software called Design Space. And Design Space will work on a desktop, a laptop, or your tablet and phone devices. If you're using a desktop or a laptop, it is a cloud-based software. If you're on a tablet or phone device, it is an app type of software. So there are a couple differences between the different types of views you see depending on the format of the device you're working with, and we'll walk through those a little bit as we go into Design Space. Once you've selected your machine and you've selected the device you're working with, you just need to set up your Cricut ID. You only need one Cricut ID. It doesn't matter how many different machines you're using or how many different devices you're using. Your Cricut ID is the one ID that identifies you as the user, and then sort of octopus arms out to the devices you're using and the machines you're using. If you have a new machine, you do get a 30-day free trial to Cricut Access. Cricut Access is the content available to you to use on your machine. So we have over 150,000 different images to work with, 500 fonts. We have over 1,000 different projects, and I can guarantee you guys that library is growing and expanding every day. So if you've just gotten your new machine and you're using your 30-day free trial, I really recommend you give that a good workout and you craft away and learn how to use it. After the 30 days, you can opt for a Cricut Access plan. We do have a free plan, so you can continue to use Design Space. Design Space never costs you anything, so you can continue to use Design Space for free. We do have a basic set of images, over I think 1,000 different images that are available for you to use, and fonts, as well as an a la carte option for purchasing images. Then you can select, if you want to continue to use have access to the extensive library, you would either choose a standard plan or a premium plan, whichever one fits into your needs and how you're crafting. There's something for everyone. So let's go into the homepage of Design Space. Now, when you open up your Design Space on your laptop or desktop, you're taken to the home screen. If you open up Design Space on a tablet or phone device, you're taken to the Canvas screen, and you just navigate to the home screen in the upper right corner. In the home screen, you'll find your header bar here, and the header bar on the left side, this pancake or hamburger stack, that takes you into your profile. Now, in your profile, I don't do too much in there. I use it to toggle back and forth between the home screen and the canvas. This is where you can change your settings. So if you prefer to work in centimeters versus inches, you can change your mat in the settings here. This is also where you set up a new machine and where you can update your firmware on your devices and anything like that. You can learn about new features and things like that. But really the main things I do in their profile, under my profile, is setting up a new machine or changing my canvas settings. Below your header bar, you have a carousel of images. These images change and rotate on a regular basis, almost daily sometimes it seems like. But what the purpose of this area is to let you know, maybe if there's a new product out, if there's a promotion going on, give you some inspiration and ideas that are relevant to the current season or holiday will be right here in the carousel. Now, under the carousel, this is where you can find all of the projects that you've saved and you want to go back and grab access to. Excuse me. Then below that are the video playlists that are curated by Cricut. And these are little short snippets of videos, 2 to 3 minutes, that just give you the information on a single topic, like how to weed, how to use transfer tape. Those are the types of videos you'll find here in the video playlist. And then below that is the community. So the community has 2 parts. One part of the community are users like you and me, where we have saved a project and shared it out with the larger community. And that's where you would find that inspiration right here. And you can search for community members in this box right on the right side. Then below that is the Cricut community, where you have Cricut curated projects that have been designed by Cricut and used and placed in Design Space for all of us to use. Once you've selected how you want to get started, whether you're using your project, a community project, a Cricut project, or just a blank canvas, you go back up to the header and select New Project. And once you've done that, that takes you into Design Space. I'll be working on my desktop today. You may be on a tablet device or a phone device. If you're on a tablet device, this is what it will look like. On the bottom left side, you have the design panel. And then in the middle section, you have the action panel and other quick edit icons. So you have actions, you have edit, you have layers, and you have sync. So when I talk about something, look down at the bottom if you're on a tablet device. It's all right there and it gives you a pop-out window. If you're on a phone, everything is on the bottom and you just scroll across and find the icon that you're looking for. They're not separated on a phone. So if you're on a desktop or a laptop, your Design Space canvas should look something like this. We have our header bar here across the top, and it lets me know I'm on my canvas instead of my home screen. I can access my profile right here. If I'm working on a saved project, that saved project would show, the name of that project would show up right here. You can access your projects, save a project, select your machine, and when it's ready, go to the Make It bar. Now, I think of Design Space Canvas like I do when I'm reading a book. I read left to right, and you read across and down. So Design Space to me is really set up pretty logically if you think in that format. You can also think of it like a clock, and it kind of starts at 9 o'clock and working your way around a clock face to find all of the important information. So on your left side here, where you start, is the design panel. Now, the design panel is where you can find all of the icons to insert something onto your canvas. Whether you're working with, say, images, that you're going to go to the Cricut Access and pull an image and insert it onto your canvas. Or if you're working with text and you want to add text onto your canvas and edit the text, then you have your edit bar comes alive up here. Or if you're adding shapes to your canvas, you can have a little pop-out window here and select different shapes. If you're on a tablet device, you do also have the option to upload images or artwork that you've curated in other places onto your canvas. There are 2 points of interest on a desktop that you can find on a desktop or a laptop that you will not find on a tablet device, and that is templates and projects. Templates are full-size images of blanks. So a blank is the material, that the item that you're going to decorate and customize. So blanks might be t-shirts or aprons. All kinds of different blanks are in the templates, and they're actually the life size of that blank. So if you were working on a family reunion, you were doing baby shirts from baby to extra large family members, you could pull in those templates and size your image to the right size proportionately to the template. So that's where templates really come in handy. Then we also have projects, and these are, again, community projects or Cricut projects. So you just don't have, the only thing that you absolutely don't have on a tablet is the templates. You can access the projects. It's just in a little bit of a roundabout way. And if I can remember exactly how to do that, I will walk you through that. I think it's up. It's up on the top right side of your screen. There's a little slider bar there that will take you into the projects. Okay, so that's the left side. That's what the design panel does. It allows you to insert onto your canvas. Again, images, text, shapes, or uploading your own content. All of that starts over there. So when you add a shape to your canvas or text or images, your edit bar comes to life here on top of it. So we're working 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock or reading left to right. The edit bar, when you can edit an item on your canvas, the icon will be a darker color. So you can see I could deselect this layer, I could edit this layer, I could do the offset on this layer. But you notice a line and a range are ghosted out. And that means I can't align this layer because I don't have anything to align it with. So if you see that you have an icon that you're thinking I should be able to use that, there's a reason you can't use that right now. And the reason I can't use a line or a range is because I only have one layer on my canvas. Now, just point out, if you're on your tablet device or phone device, you want to go to the bottom and click on the icon that says edit and that will pull up these options for you along the bottom. Now, as you add layers to your canvas, so a layer is every image, every color is its own layer. So the square was my first layer, and then I added a circle layer here. And now, since I have 2 layers and I have both layers selected, I could align my layers on the left side, like left align it, right align it to the top, align it in the center. But when I only had 1 layer, a line was ghosted out. So as you add layers to your canvas, over here on the right side is your layers panel. Now, as you add layers to your canvas, those layers come in on top of each other. So you have the square layer, and then the circle layer comes in on top of the square. You notice in the image here that the circle is laying on top of the square. So they're laying on top of each other. At the bottom of your layers panel are the action icons. Now, each of these action icons does something different. And if you're new to Cricut Design Space and you want to learn more about what the action icons do, we don't have enough time to do that in this class today, but we do have a class called Actions in Design Space on Michael's that explains what each of these icons does. Now, and then as you finish up along your canvas here on the bottom left is your zoom image, your zoom icon. So this is grayed out until you hover over it, and then it's visible. So it might be a little tricky to find, but once you kind of hover over it with your cursor, it does get to be darker. And this is how you can zoom in on your canvas or zoom out on your canvas. Again, if you're on a tablet, you just use your fingers and you zoom in and out that way. So let's do a quick review. At the end of the review, I'll leave this screen up for you so you can take a peek at it, screenshot it or write it down so you know where to find things. On the left side here is the design panel. The design panel is where you find all the icons to use to insert something onto your canvas. Again, text, images, shapes, everything you want to put onto your canvas, you'll find in the design panel. Along the top is your header bar, and below that would be your edit bars. So you have your header bar and edit bars. And then you have on the far right side here are your layers panel right here. And then below that are the action icons here. And then the last thing, if you want to say it with me, is the zoom icon. And this is your overview of Design Space and where to go to find things. So again, I think of it as starting on the left side, you're going to bring something onto your canvas. And then at the top, you're going to manipulate it and change it, edit it. And then on the right side, you'll collect all of the different images you're working with. And, you can do some actions like slice and weld and attach in that section there. So we'll just leave that there for a second and let everyone check that out. Okay. After that, oh, did I go too far? Let's go explore images. Now, again, you can add your own images to Design Space, or you can use the extensive library of images that are in Cricut Access. When you want to find an image in Cricut Access, you go to the design panel and select the image icon, because we're going to add that image onto our canvas. When you go to the library, you can come up to a search page like this. You either come into Cricut Access with like the newly added images in boxes, and I'll show you what that looks like, or you come into it as a search screen. Kind of depends. It's never consistent for me. On the left side here, you have highlighted categories. Now, these are special categories that I kind of pay attention to when I come into craft in Design Space. The featured category means these are images that are featured because they're relevant to a holiday or a seasonal item. And then you have recently added images, which I always peruse through there. Free this week and image sets. Or you can browse by an image name. Or if you don't know the image name, you can browse by keywords in the search icon box. So on this one, for example, I was looking for something that was a heart, something that would be cute to put on a travel mug. So I was just looking for something simple with the keywords love you heart. And when I searched for those, I came up with a lot of different options, which I don't always have the time to scroll through and find exactly what I want. So I use the filters on the left-hand side to help me kind of narrow down my choices. So in the filters, you can start by searching with operation type. If you know, I'm going to cut this image out, I'm going to draw the image and then cut it, whatever operation you're going to do to the image, you can choose that operation type and start to narrow down your choices. And then you can choose between image complexity and layers. Now, two different ways to think of this. You can have a really simple image with a lot of layers to it. But you can have a really complex image with a single layer. So when I think of image complexity, I think of how many cuts are in that image. So an image like a mandala type of image, that would be a really complex cut. Even if it's just a single layer, like think of stained glass would be something that would be like a complex image, even if it's only one or two layers. And then I also can narrow it down by the material I'm using. Now you're not limited to if something's designed for paper that you can only do it with paper. You can still use that image with vinyl. But if you're looking for, say, a folded card, you can say, you know what, I know I'm not going to use vinyl or iron-on designs. I'm just going to use something that's designed for paper. Once you've selected the image you want to use, if you have Cricut Access, you know it's included in Cricut Access because of this little flag here that has the A. Sometimes images are free because they're in the free this week. This Love You Heart, when I did this screenshot, was free, but it's no longer in the free this week. And then you also know you've selected it because it has the green box around it. You notice the other images next to it do not have the green box. It's not selected. You also have this information icon at the bottom of the image, and that gives you the image name, the image number, and you can look at the image sets, which has more of these images included in that kind of coordinate with it. So here's an image set that included the Love You Heart, and it seems like it's for a wedding anniversary or something like that to me. So it all kind of goes together. But once you've decided on an image you want to use, you'll notice when you click on it, it's got the green box around it. In your queue, it drops that image right here. And so then you just click on Insert Images, and it brings it into your canvas. Now, once it's on your canvas and that layer, so you've got a layer in our layers panel, that layer is selected, you have these quick edit icons around the layer. The first one here, the red X, deletes that layer. You can say, you know what, I don't need that layer. I'm going to delete that layer. Out it goes. The next layer, the backward C, this layer tells me that I can rotate the image and maneuver it around in that way. And then you have the arrows. The arrow icon coordinates with the left icon here, the lock. If the lock is on and I want to enlarge or reduce the size of this image, it will do it proportionately. So as I drag it out, it extends it width and height at the same proportions. If my proportion lock is turned off, then it will allow me to change the width, only the width of an image or only the height of an image. Now, once you've got your image sized the way you want it, you come up to your header bar and click on the Make It icon. When I'm on the Make It icon here, when I'm on the Make It screen, I can see my mat. So I selected to cut this on a mat. I've got my, I can see it's on here. I can see the size of it, make sure I cut my piece the right way. It tells me that I'm going to be cutting on a mat and what size my material is. Now you can change the size of your material. Like you could say, okay, I'm going to cut on a 4x4 piece of material on the mat. It doesn't really affect the cut. So if you leave, I leave it at 12x12 when I'm cutting on a mat, no matter what. And then if you're using material that you intend to iron on, like iron on vinyl or infusible ink, then this is where you can mirror your image to prepare it to cut. If you're using just regular if you're using just regular vinyl, permanent vinyl, or removable vinyl, you do not need to mirror. And then you just click on the continue screen and it takes you to the last page here where you select your machine you'll be cutting with. Make sure that's connected, turned on, ready to go. If you're using a Cricut Explorer 2 or older, you have the dial to select the material you're using, or you can come in here and browse through all the materials that you can cut with. And then after that, you are ready to send it. You're ready to send it onto your machine to cut. All right. So, it's a lot of information to just take it all in, isn't it? Yep. And I see Joy and Lindsay, you guys have been answering questions on the back end. I don't have any questions to answer. So why don't we just go ahead and dive right into Design Space? Here we go. So I'll dive into Design Space and I have a little project started. So let me clear this out. And we'll go to my home screen. So here we are. Now you can see the home screen changes. So you have your carousel of images up here that changes my projects here that I'm working on, the video playlist, and look at all these fun fall images. So cute. But let's go ahead and start a new project. So we'll go into new project. And on your canvas here, I should have took, let me stop share real quick. I'm going to be using this tumbler to cut out a vinyl design and put it on the tumbler. So just so you guys know what I'm working with, what I like to do is measure my space that I'm going to be working on. So the way that I do that when I'm working on a tumbler is I tend to hold the tumbler in my hand and then use a tape measure and measure the space between my fingers. So I know how wide my design can be, and I know how tall my design can be. So on this tumbler, I would keep my design about 4 inches. And if you notice, it also tapers down. So I'll probably try and keep my design about here where it's at its thickest spot. If you are a beginner, like a brand new beginner to crafting, and not necessarily to crafting, but to using a cutting machine, and you want to do vinyl cutouts, I want to encourage you to use tumblers like this that have more of an even barrel all the way down and less of a taper. It can be a little tricky adding your vinyl to a tapered glass. So just want to give you that like heads up if you're a beginner to start off with that type of mug, which I got at Michael's. And they have, I just saw them there again. I'm like, oh, yay. Good stock of mugs there. Tumblers. I guess those are tumblers, not mugs. Okay, so let's go ahead. I know that my image space then is 4 inches wide and 3 inches high. What I like to do, and you do not have to do this, what I like to do is add a square or circle that sort of gives me my space of how big my image should be. Because I don't have rulers, like ruler guides that I can click over on the canvas, I like to sort of know where my design is going to go. So if you're working with me, go ahead and open up your design space and navigate to your canvas. And the first thing we're going to do is drop a square the size of our tumbler. So I'm going to go to the design panel. I'm going to insert a shape. So I just click on the shapes icon and I'll be adding a square. So you notice in the shapes, they don't have a rectangle shape. They only have a square shape. And that's because we can take a square shape and make it a rectangle. The way we do that is to unlock the proportion. With my proportion locked, if you remember, if I drag my shape larger, what I do to the width also happens to the height. Since I need a rectangle, I want to unlock my proportions, and then I can turn my shape into a rectangle. Now, I don't have to rely on getting it exactly the right size using this quick edit icon. I can go up to the edit bar, and right here where it says size, I can change my width to 4 inches and change my height to 3 inches. And then I click enter, and that changes the size of my design, what I'll be designing. So what I'm going to do now is, if you're following along with me, that might have seemed like it went a little fast. So I'm going to delete that off my canvas and we'll do it together. So let's go to shapes on the left. If you're on a tablet, that's on the bottom left, and you'll look for the icon that says shapes. And we're going to select the square shape. Now I like to move mine to the middle, so I left click on it and I can move it around. Then I'm going to turn my proportion off. And now I can take my shape, my square shape, and turn it into the rectangle 4 inches wide by 3 inches high, like that. And you do not have to do this. It's just there to use as a guide. We will be hiding it when we send it to cut. Now I'm going to show you another little trick. You can change the color of any shape or image on your canvas. So since my mug is a blue mug, sort of a periwinklish color, I'm going to change the color to be to match the color of my tumbler. So now the next thing I'm going to do is go into the images icon on the design shape and on the design panel and find an image I can use today on my tumbler. So I'd already found this one. Let me unclick this one so I can show you all how to find your image. Let's start off by going into search in all images. Now we can narrow it down by going into the free this week highlighted categories of images. I have that connected there, that's why. And you can see there are a lot of images that you can choose from to use. Lots of cards. If you're working on a birthday project, there's lots of birthdays, and you could just scroll through here and find the perfect thing. However, I know I want to use a phrase that says believe in your dreams. So I'm just going to look for a keyword of dreams. So I type that into the keyword search in the free this week category. And when I do that, I have a couple choices. So dream a little bigger, darling, or believe in your dreams, or dream big, explore, dream, discover. You can choose any of these images you'd like to work with. I think I'm going to do believe in your dreams on my tumbler today, especially since it's a blue tumbler. So I bring that onto my canvas. All right, now if you missed it, let's do it again. We're going to go to the design panel and we'll select the images icon. We're going to go into all the images. So browse all images. Then we're going to select the highlighted category free this week. Then we're going to search in the free this week with the keyword of dreams, and a couple pop up. I'm going to select this one that says believe in your dreams. I've got the green box around it. It's in my cue tray here, and I'm going to insert that image onto my canvas. Now I have 2. All right, so now I want to bring that over and put it on my mug, and it's actually 3.99 inches wide, and it's a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. It's only 4 inches higher, so it's about 1 inch higher, but you know what? I think I'm going to be okay with it with the design I'm doing. So I'm actually going to leave it as a 4x4 square and keep it just the way it is. So go ahead. If you need to change the size though, you can edit your proportions and unlock your proportions and change the size. If you need it a little wider, you can bring it out a little wider. If you wanted it a little taller, you can bring it out a little taller. I wouldn't do too much because sometimes when you distort the font, it kind of starts to look funny, but you can just do a little bit. If you know exactly your dimensions, you can just change it up here in the edit panel. And if you have done something to your design and you're like, oh, that's not what I want to do at all, you can come up here to the undo icon and click that, and it will take it back to the way it was. Now, I've not maxed out ever my back button. So I do want to let you guys know, just have at it. You cannot make too many mistakes. You just keep kind of going back and undoing what you've done. Okay, so once you've decided what you're going to do, and I know I was expecting it to fit in my little square, but I changed my mind. I'm going to hide this square because I don't need the square to cut. So I'm going to hide that square, and you'd hide the square by going into the layers panel and clicking on the eye, and it crosses out the eye and it hides that panel. You can also, sometimes I do like to take a shape and put it around my shape to make it easier to cut. So if you wanted to keep it, you certainly could keep that shape there and cut them together. But I don't need it on our project today, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that. Then let's go ahead to the Make It screen here, and we'll make this image. So we'll ask you, are you going to be cutting on a mat or will you be using smart materials? I'll be cutting on a mat today. So I select on the mat. And then I will go ahead and I'll double check I'm on the mat, my material size. So I will cut out a piece of vinyl that's about 5 inches by 5 inches and place that on my mat. Since I'm cutting out of vinyl, I do not need to mirror. If you were cutting this to iron on and using iron on vinyl, you could mirror it. And I just saw Mildred's question. Instead of adding a square, can't you just use the measurements on the mat template? And Mildred, absolutely you could. My eyesight is not that good. And those little lines make it a little bit harder for me to exactly get my measurements. And I'm a little bit more visual. So I do like to sort of see how things are going to fit before I cut them out. So I do, and you learned how to use a shape and change the color. Okay, so we're ready to cut it from here. I do have my machine connected. It is hardwired onto my desktop, but you can use Bluetooth app for sure. Now, if you're on an Explorer Air 2, you can just change your dial to vinyl, and that would cut out your vinyl for you. I'm going to browse all materials, and the compatible materials for my Explorer Air 3 all come up, and you can see there's quite a lot to choose from. So I'll do a keyword search and narrow down my choices of my materials. So I'll be looking for iron-on today. Oops. I always do that. I forget the hyphen. So I'm not doing iron-on. You're doing iron-on. I'm not doing iron-on. I'm doing vinyl. So let me type in the word vinyl. My apologies, guys. All right. So I'll be using a shimmer vinyl today on my cutting. So I'm going to select the shimmer vinyl. And then I'm going to say done. And that changes the shimmer vinyl right there. So it says premium shimmer vinyl. Now, the beauty of the Cricut system is that all their all the paper, the materials that you're using have already been tested, and and our software knows exactly how much pressure and how to cut. So I leave my pressure on default, and then it tells you what tools to put in your machine. I just need the fine point blade and I'm ready to go. All right, so we're ready to send that over. I see my light is flashing, and we'll go ahead and switch cameras. So we can go ahead and switch over to my overhead camera here. There we go. All right, so I have on my desktop here a few different types of vinyl just to share with you. I will be using a shimmer vinyl today. Mine's going to be a blue color, but the shimmer vinyl has a bit of a texture. And when you're using shimmer vinyl or other textured vinyl, you want to make sure you're using the strong grip transfer tape. When you're using vinyl, you do want to use a transfer tape. You don't need transfer tape if you're doing iron-on. But so you want to use the strong grip transfer tape when you're using a vinyl with a texture to it. If you're using just a regular vinyl, then you can use the standard transfer tape. And you can tell the difference between the standard transfer tape and the strong grip transfer tape. One is the strong grip transfer tape actually says strong grip on it, and it's in purple, where your regular transfer tape is gray. So if you get little pieces lurking around, you can always know which type of vinyl you're using. I'm going to use my paper trimmer here and trim. So I'll be using this light blue shimmer vinyl. I love shimmer vinyl. And let's see, let me pull out my paper tray here. And I just need to cut a piece 5 by 5. Now, if you don't have a trimmer like this, you can use the guides on the back. They're each square is a 1/2 inch, and you can follow these to cut your vinyl however big you need it. And that is just such a great tool. So you can use that. It's both on the transfer tape and your vinyl. Now, and also all the vinyl tells you what kind of vinyl it is on the back. So if you ever get it out of the package and you're not sure, it'll say it on the back what type of vinyl you're using. So now when you've trimmed your vinyl, you want to go ahead and adhere it onto your cutting mat. I'll be using the standard grip cutting mat. Cricut does offer different mats depending on the material you're using. So I'll be using the standard grip today. There is a light grip mat, which is blue, and that's perfect when you're working with paper. You can also use it with vinyl. The standard grip mat pretty much works with everything. I don't use it when I'm doing paper. I definitely use the blue mat when I'm working with paper. And then there is a pink mat for fabric and a purple mat, which is the strong grip mat for really when you're working with materials that really need to be held onto the canvas. So my light is flashing, telling me my Cricut is ready to go. I just feed my mat in using these guidelines here, and then I'll pop right in. Now this is the Explore 3. So if I were using smart materials, I would do it the same way, just I wouldn't have it on a mat. I would use the 13-inch wide material to cut. Then my light flashes and I'm ready to go. Now you can use the smart material on your Explore 2. You just would put it on the mat. That's all. Now, while that's cutting, I'll go ahead and grab my strong grip transfer tape, right? Because I am using, I'm using shimmer vinyl. So I want to use the strong grip transfer tape, and I'll cut a little 5 by 5 piece to match my vinyl square. And I tend to cut my pieces. You can put the whole piece of vinyl on the mat, but I tend to find it easier to weed when I have a smaller piece of material I'm working with versus a bigger piece of material. So I do go ahead and cut that right out. Now I have also in my toolbox, I'll be using a weeding tool and I'll be using my scraper. So I have the wide scraper here, and you can, there's smaller scrapers. So if this is a small project, you might just choose to use a small scraper. If you don't have a scraper, you can just use a credit card or something like that. And then I'll also be using my weeding tool here to weed out my design on there. Okay. So let me go ahead and unload this. Now, when I remove my vinyl off of my mat, really when I remove any material off of my mat, I turn my mat upside down and I peel my vinyl, I peel my mat off of my material like this. Then I take my mat, hold on one second. I have to come across to my other side of my desk. I just use like a lint-free wipe, and I wipe my mat down. If I've used it a couple times or if I'm working on a lot of projects, this is just my maintenance. You just want to kind of get any loose debris off of it. I know I've had mine sitting without its cover and I had some other stuff on it. So then now you'll see there's no stick. I'm going to set this aside right here, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Because don't worry, my stick will still be there. I'm just showing you how to clean your mat and keep it so you get the best performance out of your mat. Then I'm just going to begin to weed my design. So to weed your design, you just poke your weeding tool into your design and you start removing it from your backing here. Now, I do tend to work from a corner and work my way across the shape. And if I need to, I will, I'll sort of tear the part I don't need to keep off of itself so it doesn't stick back down on top of itself, which can happen sometimes. And then you also want to be careful on your little pieces like the E's, I mean, the dots on your eyes and things like that. You just want to be careful that you don't capture those and weed those by accident. So I just kind of try and look back and see and make sure that I have my design is weeding properly. And if you're worried about it kind of like folding down on itself, you can fold it back so the sticky part kind of sticks on itself that way, and then continue to weed across your design. Wait, while I'm weeding, were there any questions, Joy or Lindsay, that you need me to answer or any clarification?
Actually, I think Lindsay's working on a little tricky one. Maybe she wants to ask you this one.
Okay.
Yes, Debbie asked a really, really good question, and it's a little complicated to type. So if you could walk her through it, it would be awesome.
Okay.
She's saying that she already has something cut on her vinyl, but there's a piece of her vinyl that doesn't have anything cut that she would also like to use. I know that we always try to use as much and waste as little as possible. She's wondering if the machine knows like that there's nothing up there. Which the machine doesn't know, you have to tell it. But I'm trying to explain to her the different ways of either cutting out that piece and using it as a scrap piece, or moving your image on the mat and telling the machine, no, don't cut in the top left corner, cut over here where it's empty. If you could show that, that would be fantastic.
Yes, I absolutely can show that. When I go back into Design Space, I can definitely show that. I'm getting myself all caught up here. I can show how to move your in Design Space in the in like the prep screen. You can move your shape around and adjust where it's going to cut. If you're on a tablet device, you can also use I think it's called Snap, what's it called? It's not where you can take a picture. You can put like all your scrap pieces on your mat.
That's
and then
Snap to Grid.
What is that?
Snap to Grid.
Where you take a picture with your
camera.
Yeah, with your camera on your tablet device or your phone, and you can then, say, this is where I want it to cut. So those are two ways you can do it. One is to move it on the prepare screen. So like if you have a corner cut out of your vinyl, position it that way, or use the picture. What did you call it, Joy? What's it called?
I think it's called Snap to Grid, but I'm questioning myself.
I know, I am too.
I think I'm good, but you can take a picture. It's much easier to move the image over in the prepare screen if you still want to keep your same long length of vinyl in place. Another answer is if you're making one cut, you can duplicate that image and make several of them, and then you don't have to worry about saving space. The machine will do it for you.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, that was like a hot mess of weeding there.
That was a lot. I was feeling for you on the weeding. I do have another question.
Okay.
Somebody said that they're trying to use transfer tape on adhesive foil, but it does not transfer.
So good, interesting question. On adhesive foil, I think that has a little bit of a texture. Are they using strong grip or regular grip transfer tape? I think I might use strong grip on foil because it has a texture to it.
Yes, I agree with you, Kesley. I think Yami is the one who's asking the question. And I think if you were to try the strong grip and then watch how Kesley does this, how she transfers using the transfer tape, because I think she's got a lot of cool tips that might help do the trick.
Definitely. Yeah, I do. It's funny. I feel bad because I've done so much transferring that I make it look too easy. People are like, how do you do it so easily? But it's like a learned skill. And I think there is a bit of patience involved in it. Like if it's late at night and I'm trying to work on a project is the worst time for me to transfer because I want to just get it done and I'm not being super patient with myself. So you do have to have a little bit of patience, and sometimes a third hand is helpful. I will admit.
Phone a friend.
Okay.
The other, Kesley, we had somebody who corrected me. Thank you, Valerie. It is called Snap Mat.
That's what I thought it was called. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. All right. So first of all, I want to tell you guys, this is now sticky again. See? I've wiped it clean. It's sticky, and I'll put my my plastic right back on top of that when I'm done and keep it clean. Now my transfer tape is removed from my backing, and I'm ready to put my design on my transfer tape. Since this is strong grip transfer tape, I do want to be a little bit more careful with it than I normally would be with regular transfer tape, because regular transfer tape just isn't as sticky. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up my design on my grid here on my back. This is the self-healing mat from Cricut, and I'm lining up my grid on here. Oops, I've got it upside down. I'm lining my grid up on here. Now, if you remember, I cut my design exactly 5 by 5, but you see I have this extra space here. So I'm going to take a line on my transfer tape, and I will line that up with this blue line on my grid mat, and then be able to tuck my background right underneath there and get a nice clean line on the top and the side. So I can just take my transfer tape, line up that line on the blue. So first I line it up right there, and then I can peel it back a little bit like that. And then I can put my design right underneath there, hold my design flat, and bring my transfer tape even on the side and the top down over my design. So now my design keeps it straight left and top. And I have all these lines on my transfer tape to use to help guide my design. Now, I am using a, let me just grab something so it doesn't roll. And then we'll get this on there. I have these shirts. I'll just use those. Now, if you're doing a tumbler like this that has tapered, you can trim your transfer tape so that it will help you mold it around your mug or your tumbler a little bit easier. Now, when I'm pulling my design off of my transfer tape, I'm just going to grab a corner of that backing and I use my wedge and I begin to pull back on my design. Let me just get myself started here. So I begin to pull back on my design. What I'm doing is I'm pushing down with the wedge on the back side and pulling up on the front side. If you're having trouble getting it to come off, kind of go at a different angle and pull the design from a different angle. If you have a particular piece that's not wanting to come off the background, just burnish it a little bit and work from that angle and just sort of rock it back and forth like this. And sometimes you have to just fold your backing paper in half and get like a good hard line right there. So you can kind of flick with your fingernail your vinyl down or take your weeding tool and hold that vinyl down as you pull back. Okay, so now let me bring this back over here and believe in your dreams. So I'm just gonna put it right on the middle of my cup. I don't really have to worry too much about getting it horizontal, but I don't want it to go crooked like this. So I'm sort of eyeballing my transfer tape line along the top there of my mug. So it will go. And then you may have to start on one side here and push it down. And then you can go over to the other side. As you bring it down, what you want to watch for is that you bring it down smoothly in little bits so you don't get bubbles underneath. And if it starts to get tight, like right up here, it's kind of feeling a little bit tight. What I would do is just keep bringing it a little bit at a time. And that helps you eliminate any bubbles in your design. Now you can also do the wet method, which you just spritz a little water on your surface. If you're working with a plastic surface or something like that, you just spritz a little water on there and put it down and then squish out the water from the back side. And once it's dried out, then you can easily remove your transfer tape. So here's my transfer tape coming off so nicely. My design is staying down and there we go. This looks like Cinderella. Believe in your dreams. Now with my vinyl tape, my transfer tape, I don't need to throw this away. I can use this again on another design. So I have my backing here, I think, and I can just line that back up on here and put that back down. And then I tuck my little scraps like this underneath my self-healing mat so I can grab them later and use those if I need them later on. So there's our cup. That turned out so cute. That's the first time I've used that design, but that turned out really cute. And I just want you guys to know, you do want to put your plastic back on your cutting mat to keep it viable. If you ever get it really messed up, you can, Cricut has instructions on their website how to clean them, and you just use like a little Dawn detergent and circular motion and it cleans it right up. But there we go. There's our beautiful design. And oh,
so great, Kesley. Thank you so much. I know that we're just a minute over, but do we have a little bit of time to answer Debbie's question about how to move?
Oh, yes. Let me show that. Thank you for reminding me. Let me go ahead. I'll share my design space again. And I'm going to cancel this. Oh, wait, I'm wrong thing. Let's see, share. Where is design space? There she is. Okay. Okay, so let me cancel finish this. Okay, so then so this is what I'm going to cut. And let's say I have a piece of vinyl that already has a chunk out of it. And I just like, maybe I already cut this once last week and a friend thought my cup was so cute. She wanted another one. So I can just on my mouse, I left click on my mouse and I bring that over to say the 6-inch mark where I want to put it. And it places it right there and I'm ready to go. So then I can just cut it out right there. And Michael's is asking, when you wash it, will it come off of cup? I recommend hand washing these cups that you've put vinyl on, but I did use a permanent vinyl. And funny story, I was making water for my daughter this weekend, like just making a cup of ice water for her. And I grabbed one of our cups out of the cabinet. And I filled it up with water and I handed it to her. And I realized it was one of the cups I had decorated. And it's probably gone through the washing machine like 20 times before I realized it was in the cabinet. So if you're giving it as a gift, I definitely recommend to give the instructions to hand wash. But from experience, they've gone through the wash for me and I haven't had any trouble with them peeling off. And if it was me and it did peel off, I would just be like, oh, time for a new saying, time for a new quote, and just redecorate the cup. But that's just me. All right, well, I think that is all we have. I hope you guys got the links. I'm sure Lindsay popped them in there for our actions in Design Space. And I do want to encourage everybody to sign up for our September Frightfully Spooky class. That is going to be a good one.
Yes, thank you so much, Kesley. I know that everyone has learned so much and Design Space can be a little scary at first, but just keep practicing and we're here to help. And thank you again.
And I'd love to see what you guys create. So if you crafted along with me, hit me up on Instagram, kesley.365. I want to see what you make. And so does Michael. So tag Crafting with Michaels and Cricut with Michaels in your post. And we all want to see what you're doing. Thanks, everybody.